everybody to another edition of Open Up at Voice of Men 360. I'm Arif Gilany, your host. And today we've got a great guest, and we're going to have a very valuable discussion. Right now, the business environment, the world is totally changing. There are so many great changes happening. There's a lot of ambiguity, a lot of insecurity. That's why it provides a great opportunity for those who are thinkers of the future to hold hands and build a network to bring people together. And Gary seems to be one of those. So I'm glad to have Gary here. Before I bring on Gary, we have an announcement on Voice of 360, which is a nonprofit organization founded in 2022 out of the urge, the need, the visual of Voice of Men being heard, and we are glad to be here. Voice of Men is a part of the International Men's Day, which has been celebrated for 21 years, over 90 countries, and we're here to spread the word on Voice of Men being heard today. It's an honor, it's a privilege to have Gary. Gary, I don't want to so
Great
nice
to be
to
here.
see you. Nice to hear from you. So tell us a little bit about Gary. Let's meet Gary.
Yeah, well, I'm 64 years old, been married 33 years, have two young adult children. I live in the Guelph, Ontario area. Had my own corporate training business for 22 years, worked with 20,000 plus people, and tons of learning in my life, which I want to share a little bit with you today, especially the importance of having clarity of our purpose and what that does for our lives and to serve the world. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Glad to meet you, Gary. We're here every week with great people like yourself. I saw a little bit of your journey. Married 33 years, two adult children, 64-year-old man. You look great. Absolutely. You look my age, which I'm much younger than you, let's say, but I'm glad to learn from your experiences. You also connected with one of my mentor, Bob Proctor.
Oh, yes.
Talked about that, about Gary. So tell us about your journey. Let's go back to your childhood, Gary.
Yeah. So actually, the first childhood memory I have is that of me. Literally, I was probably 1.5, 2 years old. I'm literally shaking, hiding under a little coffee table because my father is yelling at me. He's upset about something, and he's yelling at me, and I'm just in fear. And that was the defining moment because it actually created for me a belief system. I didn't realize it, right, when we're so young, but it literally created a belief system in me in terms of I'm not good enough. I must be broken. And when I was doing sports, I was always in fear. I wasn't going to be good enough, kind of thing. And I know we all have that to a certain degree, but we can also begin to reprogram that. And what my key learning from that was, after looking back, was that I was believing a lie. It's not true we all have that we are good enough. It's not true that we might believe that we're not good enough. Yeah.
Wow. Tell me this. What was your father doing? First of all, relationship between father and son. This is going back to, we're in 2022, so back to 1970s?
Yeah. Yep.
1970s. I was just a baby. So tell us about 1970s and what was your father doing back then? What was his job? I want to see them.
Well, yeah, he was in commission sales. You're working on a floor selling furniture, and more or less a single income provider. So I know he was also very fear-based, which is where I think I got some of that fear from initially. And so maybe he had a bad day. There were some challenges probably. So that's how he, reacted in that situation. And there were other situations as well where I felt in such a way.
Very interesting. When we know how decisions are made, even in our personal lives, it's all based on the pressures that we have at the moment inside our own head. If you understand, my point of view. If you get my point of view, I just want to see his mindset when he was under so much pressure to provide for his family, a single family, and just established in Toronto. What's his background, Gary? Where did he come from?
Well, his parents were from Ukraine, so
Ukraine.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. So imagine that, first generation Ukrainian immigrant here under a lot of pressure. So Little credit to your dad. Then what happens in Gary's life? You grow up under this kind of, let's say, a little bit of iron fist upbringing. What
Yeah,
happens?
it was largely fear based, and then I fall in love. My first real love at age 21, which was kind of late, kind of thing. But and I was totally in love with this girl, Shell. But it ended badly. I think my best friend had an affair with her one weekend, and then we broke up, and I was literally heartbroken. And I remember being out in the woods, just my pain in my heart, like it was being ripped apart. And I actually vowed that I would never love that much ever again because the
That
pain was so severe.
that pain of love again. I know what you're talking about. Yes, of course you got to experience it, and I'm sure a lot of our audiences can feel that. It's a natural thing, but that deep is very special. I'm sure it had some impact on a young man's life. You were much younger, and you still are right now. But tell me about then.
Yeah, and so the impact was it really like I must have protected my heart. I didn't want to have my heart that open and loving again because I didn't want it to get broken again because of the pain. And I'm sure that's affected my relationships and even my marriage today going forward because I've kind of maybe shut down my heart, even though, to protect it, even though I'm very conscious and I've done some reprogramming around that. But the greatest learning I had from all that was the power of beliefs and self-talk in making vows, and that we can actually reprogram some of those vows or beliefs or self-talk. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm,
and
I'm
in terms of
really I'm really looking forward, Gary. I just finished my book also on. It's called The Ministry of Miracles, just creating miracles in your own lives. It's being edited by a team in England. This is not about me, but it's about you. But when I find like-minded people, I love to collaborate. So I'm sure you have a world of experience. Voice of Men 360 is here. My friends here providing us with this great opportunity to even have a conversation. So I'm grateful. Thank
I'm
you, Gary.
good.
So tell us about your now you prepared for this love event of your life, which ended up in unfortunately heartbroken, but you learned some lessons. You say it impacts my life today. Tell us about some of those lessons that you learned from that squeeze that you had.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, some were negative, right?
Of course.
So sort of the thing was rather than being a space of love, I was more of a space of lust, which is not always healthy. You need to manage that, right? And so yeah, I had lots of girlfriends, kind of thing. Did a normal male thing at that age, and then I got married at the age of about 40, and been married for 33 years, and it's been the greatest learning experience of my entire life. It's been a catalyst for me to really learn about myself and how I respond to the world and to challenges, and especially to mental health challenges. And many decades of this relationship have been very, very, very challenging. And I actually allowed myself to be controlled and had low self-esteem. I became a workaholic also because I probably wanted to prove to my father I was good enough. Right? Remember, I'm not good enough. Right? And that belief is kind of still operating there, and it had lots of emotional pain and resentment. And we had our young son, and then I literally considered leaving the marriage at that point. Um, and, uh, and then I was invited to a men's faith-based Christian ministry called Promise Keepers, and as a it was a powerful experience because when there was a sort of an altar call, I went to the front, I cast all my marital concerns, in essence at the foot of the cross, and accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Savior, and literally I felt the power of God pour through me. I was filled with the greatest amount of peace and bliss and love that I've ever had. And literally the years of resentment I had in my marriage were literally washed away just like that, washed away. I felt back in love with my wife. It was a miracle. So talk about miracles. That was a miracle. And
Well, that just really gets me excited. Those are the moments of miracles that we wanted to create. So, into the future, we're also planning live events, which I would love to have you, and we're gonna talk to Sivam about this. This is where really empowering comes from, Gary. I think This is what you just explained. You just raised my energy up as you were speaking on how something had happened to you. This only happens in live events. I have experienced this now in Sweden. I was a refugee. I was 20 years old. I am in a ship from Second World War that was being used as a refugee camp, and I'm there. I'm new. I'm just fresh out of the boat. Somebody invites me to the church, and I go there, and I see a different environment than what I was used to. Men and women, chic and nice, and suits and tie, and children, and you know, singing and dancing and being happy and greeting me at the door. Every single one of them. I said, "Wow, what is this? What kind of worship is this?" So I can feel it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what my learning was from that experience really was that Jesus heals and that I am loved by God. I am, and each of us are, a beloved child of God. And
Wow.
so it's a great place to live your life out of, right? And also then I started a personal development business, one of the key
Let's
partners.
talk about that.
Yeah, and so
Let's
the
talk
Bob
about that.
Proctor thing, actually I started working with Bob 40 years ago, 30 years ago, for 5 years. That was a very powerful experience. I learned a ton from Bob Proctor, who unfortunately we know just passed away last month or so. And I actually began to reinvent myself, right? Through the proper self-talk, through visualization, reprogramming, forgiveness, and there's great power in forgiveness. I highly recommend forgiveness because that sets us free to have peace within ourselves. So we can reinvent ourselves, right? We can do it cognitively through our own intention. We can reprogram our beliefs, which I continue to do, and we can have the Spirit of God also restore us into a brand new being. So it's been, the journey continues, right, for all of us. Every day is a learning experience, especially when I started my corporate training business back in the 2009, and so that was after working with Bob Proctor, and since then I had worked with 20,000 individuals and leaders throughout Canada, US, and Australia, and was loving it. Was totally on purpose with that, and was making an impact in people's lives. A couple thousand every year, and went through 3 recessions. So I learned the power of persistence and never ever giving up. Especially in the last great recession, 2009, is my greatest challenge in life I've ever experienced, certainly financially. Most people know that in recessions, corporations, so my clients were corporations, usually spend $0 on speakers and trainers. So I'm a single family income earner, used to earning a 6-figure income. So that full year working extremely hard, I had 0 income, and I rack up $50,000 in credit card debt. I'm living off my credit card. I was in fear. I was like totally distressed financially, and I actually became hopeless. It's the worst thing ever be. I hope you're not feeling hopeless. I hope you never feel hopeless. And after a few months of feeling hopeless, one day I woke up. I remember clearly. It was a February 2009 morning. It was a bleak winter morning, and I just realized I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and I'm never going to choose to feel hopeless ever again. And the light bulb went off. I realized, well, Gary, it's just a choice. You can choose to feel hopeless, or you can choose to feel hope. I decided in that moment I would never choose hopelessness ever again, and I will not. And so that was a breakthrough moment for me. And God actually put on my mind and heart. And I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I'm walking with God during that period of time. But it was extremely challenging. $50,000 in credit card debt. And God says to me, Gary, start talking to successful people. Clean up your stinking, negative, cynical thinking. So I did. I talked with business leaders. I talked with church leaders, community leaders. And I was led to talk to these people who themselves had experienced God's miracles in their lives and restored them from major life crises like divorce or cancer or loss of a loved one or bankruptcy and so on. And what I saw What I saw was God's faithfulness. I saw God's faithfulness, and it raised my faith from like a 2 out of 10, $50,000 in debt, no income, to like an 8 out of 10. And that's what enabled me to actually pay off the $50,000 in debt within 2 years thereafter. And then
Wow.
God said, Gary, I want you to put all this, what you've gathered here from these people you've talked to, put it together in a book so other people can benefit from it. So,
Absolutely, we're actually working on a book front. So many stories we're hearing, Gary, but this is incredible. The story of you being opened up. This is really tough. If I met you in the street, I would never think what you just told me. You look like a handsome, put together, all together young man. I mean, we cannot judge people by a book by its cover. There's so much underneath. That's why I love this open up topic of really letting ourselves, because so many people will hear your voice and they say, man, I can relate to it, but why can I not, like Gary, just open up and say I was broke, I'm in 50,000. I mean, this is stuff we don't joke about, but it's serious matters inside somebody's mind.
oh, it was crucial. It was, and so what I learned from all of that. And so what happened shortly after that? And yes, God told me to put together the book, so we did publish the Kingdom Promise. If anyone has interest, they can send me an email later. And it's all about stories of faith. So you want to raise your faith. The Kingdom Promise, how leading Canadians choose faith to conquer the storms of life. And so my greatest learning is follow your heart. And so right during that period of time, I was a friend said, hey, Gary, you should transfer into a different industry. And so he said, well, man, why don't you be a fundraiser for a
On
charity? So I did. Immediately that idea resonated in my heart. My heart was full of love for this idea of doing this for a worthy charity. And I didn't know anything about it, but I followed my heart. I found part-time work that led into full-time work in charity. And I became actually very successful as a fundraiser for some worthy charities. And then I look back and I started to do some research and study, what's the connection between passion, purpose, and performance? And they were all connected. And I truly realized, and I want to share with people, encourage, because my greatest learning there is that when you follow your heart, it's always the best decision. So I want to encourage you to follow your heart, right? Follow your heart.
I am blessed to have these experiences, to have had a lot of great conversations with people just like yourself, Gary. This is really feels like talking to family, if you will.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is a special conversation. This is a special kind of communication. Not everybody can level up like this, if you will, because of our programming, because of our education, environmental condition. And I talk about all of this in my book. I'm really excited about this summer that's coming up, but it's under these very extreme conditions, like they were back in 1937, the Great Depression. We create
Absolutely.
our own opportunities. Am I right in saying you created this opportunity to be the fundraiser out of out of needing funds yourself and becoming really good at it?
Yeah, like I literally reinvented myself. And we can all do that. You can do that. You can reinvent yourself. And think of the last time when you were excited or motivated, inspired, whatever that was that you were doing. Maybe you're working on a project or it was something. So and just for a moment, close your eyes and just revisit that experience and how you felt. You're probably feeling energized and powerful and confident and secure and focused. So that's the power, right? That's the power of following your heart, of following your passion. And as Gandhi says, the greatest motivator, the purpose is the greatest motivator in the world. And most, you might agree because you've experienced that. We want you to experience more of that in life, because there is a seed of greatness within each one of you, within you. There's a seed of greatness. You have a purpose. Everyone has a purpose on this planet. God created everything with a purpose. God, the creator, whatever we want to call him, right? And that I believe that purpose is buried within your heart, kind of like buried treasure. We don't know what it is, but it's there. We just need to uncover it and discover it. and
Thank you.
develop it and live an amazing life because you're following your heart, living on purpose.
What a great discussion I'm having here with Gary. Gary is an author. He is a speaker. Gary has been mentoring, coaching people around the North America, around the world for over the last 20 years. He's got amazing experiences in all kinds of walks of life. I'm Arif Gilany. We're here on Voice of Men 360. Before we continue, Gary, I just want to read this stuff because we bring awareness, but I want to ask you some really powerful concluding questions where we can bring it all home and really plan for the future as well. But Open Up is a show on Saturday and at 10 a.m. Eastern Time every week. We have a new guest where you see Gary all excited about the future, even through all of these challenges that we all face. We have the Vili, that's his Tamil Live talk show host, Sundays, 8 Eastern PM. Don't forget, if you speak Tamil, all my Tamil friends, again, I will be sharing this on social media. Make sure you tune into it, even if you are back home. Monthly webinars we have Saturday of every month at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and men next is tomorrow. Actually, this is a special. This is just on top of my head. Tomorrow we have a very special um, session for men, and everybody's been advertising. It's online. You can go check out all of the videos. All of the participants are putting on, and all of the guests are there too. Also. Learn and enjoy. Every month we have monthly special show that's Unspoken Tears, really conversations about men and their pains and how they overcome them. You can reach us via the phone at 437-889-8329, and this is Voice of Men 360.org, or info at voiceofmen360.org. Don't forget to check out our pages. Yes, the event tomorrow is right here. Thank you, Sivam. This is, let me give you this a little bit of a rundown.
Sorry, it's not tomorrow. It's today in 3 hours.
In 3 hours. Thank you, sir, for that correction. We actually have the times mixed up, but it's today. Please make sure you tune into that. With that, I want to go back to Gary, and we use this time to really bring home some of the great advice that Gary has. I'm really looking forward to collaborating with you, Gary, if you don't
Me
mind.
too.
I am asking you to be my mentor. This is how it goes.
Well, we'll do both. You can mentor me as well. We're always learning, brother, right?
One of the things you said was forgiveness. Forgive yourself. It all starts there.
And forgive others.
Of guilt. Oh my God, I should have done this. I should have been this. I should. Is that what you mean?
We should on ourselves.
In other words, in Canadian words, yes, sir. Then is gratitude, being grateful for what we have right now, even the cup of water that I'm here. It's not even coffee, I'm telling you, but I'm grateful for it. This is one of the philosophies that I have developed also with my mentors in England, and we're looking to build up some really events, live events here in North America. Gary, you have faced pain, you have faced diversity, you have had heartbreaks of love proportions, very deep proportions. If I was 20 years old and you met me in the street and I was asking for advice, what would you tell me? What should I do in Canada to be happy, successful, have that life, the good life that everybody wants?
Oh yeah, I would say a number
Where
of
do I
things.
start?
I would say be true to yourself. Do not lose yourself in somebody else. And really that boils down to follow your heart, right? It's the wisdom within us. That's your intuition. I believe it's always correct. Take risks, especially if you're younger. Take risks. Follow your heart. The last thing I want to do, and maybe for many of us as well, is be in my deathbed. Because on our deathbed, I believe we're going to be in a place of two extremes, either in a place of regret because we did not fulfill our life purpose or fulfill our dreams, or the other end of the spectrum is we're going to be in a place of fulfillment and acceptance because we did everything we possibly could to fulfill the purpose why we are here on earth. And So that's where I'm coming from. That's what I would recommend to everybody, because there's power in purpose. And the clearer the purpose you have, the greater the life you will have, and the greater the impact that you will have. And your personal power will be much higher. The world needs you to show up, to make a positive impact, to use your gifts in making a difference in the world. And that's what my passion is now, to help people do that, to help them get clarity out of confusion and uncertainty and insecurity. And so we also would invite you to check out, connect with me. I'm happy to help on a discovery call, 30-minute complimentary discovery call, or send you some resources on a powerful purpose model, which combines some key elements which are key to really identifying your core purpose, which is buried in your heart. So happy to serve. Connect with me. My contact information, which will show up here shortly. And keep coming to these sessions and all these good personal development training. Every day is an opportunity to grow. And yes, grow with gratitude and faith and belief. Yeah.
Gary, one question. If I wanted to find Gary, I really like this conversation. I feel the energy. Where do I find Gary online, on the phone? Tell us about your visitations. How do we visit you virtually? Are you on a website or WhatsApp, or how can people access you to ask you for this session where you sit down and talk to them to see what I want?
I think Savam's going to put up on the screen or later, and so yes, but a discovery call on Calendly. Probably LinkedIn is the best. Just go to Gary Gradley, LinkedIn, there, or my phone number
Gary,
is 416.
LinkedIn is a good place. I'm going to find you, Gary. We're going to connect. I'm looking forward to actually working with you. I wanted to thank Sivam so much for providing this opportunity, bringing like-minded people together again. I was just attracted to the cause of having Voice of Men. We know besides men, children, women, and everybody also needs to be heard. And personal growth, personal development really doesn't have a gender, creed, or color, or anything like this. That's why I like it. It's all thinking the same way. Tell us about the thinking. How do you fix your thinking?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's being
This is the
conscious
biggest
of,
problem, right?
being conscious. And actually, one of my other key learnings is that every moment, unconsciously or conscious, we're either choosing love or we're choosing fear. Those polar opposites, right? So every moment we have a choice, and we need to be more conscious of what we are thinking, because most of it's subconscious, right? We don't know of it. So be more conscious of what we are thinking and choosing the best choice in each of those thoughts, each moment that we can. Not to drive yourself crazy, but just, choosing. It's the power of choice. Choosing love and faith and gratitude over fear and negativity and all those things, right? So in this environment right now, we need to choose faith over fear.
Well, wonderfully, every morning we have two choices: go act with other people, interact based on fear, being scared of them or us or whatever, or loving them. I just choose to love. I pick up my bag and say hello to everybody like back home, and people think I'm crazy, but we didn't see enough of your book. Can I see your book? And I'm looking forward to reading it again. What's the
It's
name
called
of
the Kingdom Promise. Sorry. How
Kingdom
leading
Promise?
Canadians choose faith to conquer the storms
Where
of
can
life.
they find it? Where can we find it? I want a copy. Where do I get it?
Yeah, so it's not available on Amazon or anything. But if people send me an email or LinkedIn, then I'll coordinate a copy with them. Yeah, it's like $20 plus mail shipping.
I'm looking forward to connecting with you. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Me
And
too.
the last words are yours. What can you do to close this session out for our audience? I want to use your wisdom to be able to give a two-pointer message. If you were somewhere that you were speaking, let's say, what's your two-liner for end of this conversation? 2-3 lines.
So just to summarize, the key points would be have faith, choose faith over fear, and follow your heart. You today, this week, this month, this year, choose faith over fear and follow your heart, and God will be with you.
Well, here you goes from the master himself. Choose love and faith over fear. I've had the pleasure of speaking with Gary Gradley, and I'm looking forward to the purpose coach. Gary is coming from a deep place of faith and belief, been through challenges himself. I can feel it. I actually have felt Gary's passion, his energy, because I can relate to every story that he has. So if he can relate to you, make sure that you reach out to Gary. Other than that, we look forward to seeing you all and have a great Sunday, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks, Gary.
you.
Thank you. Bye.